Greetings, demons, and welcome to Warhammer Weekly, episode 81. So, this time around we have a ton of stuff to talk about because a lot of the Warhammer Day preview stuff, or a lot of those reveals, didn't actually get put on the Warhammer community website until the day after, which is kind of weird. Normally it's pretty soon after, but with all that being said, there's a lot to get into, so no pickups this time around. Let's just get straight into it.
Not the leader of a cult, RabbitWithAxe.
So, starting off, we do have this year's Christmas Battleforces, and this is both for 40k and for AOS, though I'm going to do these a little bit separate. So I'm going to do 40k now, do AOS in a little bit. If you want to skip ahead, just check out the chapters below. But, yeah, for 40k, we have some interesting ones. Starting off with Adeptus Sororitas Battleforce, we have the Penitent Crusader Host, and, yeah, this one is basically a lot of the Penitent stuff. It's, honestly, I'm not going to go into too much detail with any of these. If there's anything of note, I'll point it out. But yeah, this one is focusing far more on the, Archoflagellants and that sort of thing. It does have 2 tanks, which is kind of cool, but they're rhinos, so, your mileage may vary. This is an okay box. I don't think there's anything special. I'm sure someone will want it, but yeah, I think the general thing with all these Battle Forces this year is they're kind of whatever. Like, especially if you're already into those armies, you're probably not going to need this box. But yeah, moving on from that one, we do have the Necrons Battle Force, which is Hypercrypt Legion. And yeah, the fun thing about this one is that it does come with one of the gods, one of the Elder Gods. But realistically, like, I don't really know what they're going for with this. It has Lich Guard, but it also has warriors, and just, I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one in the grand scheme of things. I don't know. For me, I don't see this being that useful to most people. Like, I think most people will have the Void Dragon already, so, are you really wanting the Void Dragon again? I don't think can you even run multiple? I'm not actually sure how the rules work with that, but yeah, I'm not too sold on this. And yeah, if you're a Necron player, like I'm not personally, tell me if this is actually a good one. Same with the Adeptus Sororitas. If I'm wrong and it is actually a good one, let me know. But yeah, not feeling this one. When it comes to the Tau Empire Battle Force, once again, this isn't my sort of thing, though this is something that I can appreciate way, way more. This is the Retaliation Cadre, and it is all battlesuits, and I think that's good. I think it's good to have battlesuits. It would have been nice with, all the new Kroot stuff and the Vespids coming as well, if we'd had something that was, a mix between maybe Kroot and battlesuits, maybe mix it up a little bit more than usual, but honestly, battlesuits, you can have as many as you want in your army. It's a very massable type of unit, so I'm not really going to complain. It's not something that I care as much about when it comes to, the overall Tau playing experience, but yeah, they are good, and honestly, of all of these Battle Forces, this is the one I'm most tempted by, just because I don't actually have any battlesuits. I only have Kroot, stealth suits, and a handful of Fire Warriors, so yeah, in general, I think this one's alright, but once again, it's not blowing me away, and I kind of need it to be a good discount for me to actually be that interested. But moving on, we also have Dark Angels. This is our, Space Marine box, the Inner Circle Task Force, and yeah, it comes with Lionel Johnson. I don't really think I need to say anything else about it. It's, it's Terminators of all forms, and some Deathwing Knights. I don't know. It's not, once again, the most interesting if you are already a Dark Angels player. And if you're a general Space Marine player, this is completely useless to you. You can technically use these models as proxies, but you're not going to. You're just going to get the regular, the regular Terminators or whatever else. Like, there's nothing here for the average Space Marine player, which is kind of a shame. The Chaplain's nice, don't get me wrong, but overall, it's just not that great of a box. I feel bad saying it, but it's like, all these boxes are just kind of whatever, and it doesn't feel like they are as well themed as usual. I don't know, that might be my perspective, but I'm not feeling any of these. And then finally, we do have the Imperial Knights Battleforce, which these are always good. I will always appreciate Knights having a box, a discount box, and this one is 4 armigers, and I actually can't remember which knight it is. Is it a Knight Questoris? It says Knight Questoris, yeah. Questoris Knight. So, yeah, the Valor Strike Lance is the name of this Battleforce, and yeah, it's a basic Imperial Knights box. It's a good amount of points. It's a decent box in general. Honestly, this one doesn't interest me, except for the fact I play Chaos Knights. Technically, Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights, they're generally the same. They have slight differences. Obviously, the kits are different, but you can very easily modify non-Chaos units into Chaos. And to some degree vice versa, but it's far easier to do it from Imperial to Chaos, obviously. But, yeah, I think, in general, Imperial Knights, it's good to have them just because it's harder to get them in discount boxes, and otherwise, if you are wanting to get into Dark Angels, if you're wanting to get into, you know, Necrons or Adeptus Sororitas, these boxes are fine. They might be the starting point that you're looking for. Same with the Tau, actually. Like, if you want to just get some battle suits, that's good. But realistically, if you are already playing these armies, the only ones that I'd at all recommend are the Imperial Knights because, you know, it's more armigers, it's a Questoris, you know, you can't really complain. And I guess the Tau Empire one, if you actually want more battle suits, which, for me, I can take them or leave them. I think that is probably the most likely one that I'm going to get. It really does depend on what the prices end up being, but yeah, this time around they are really, in my opinion at least, not as good as previous years. But moving on from the Battle Forces, we do have a celebratory, or whatever you want to call it, commemorative series miniature coming out in November, and it is some Ratlings. It is the provisionally prepared Ratlings. I've butchered that name, but yeah, it's just 2 Ratlings hid behind a little bit of cover, having some food. You know, they're sharing hot dogs and chicken and pie and what looks like some sort of alcoholic beverage, and some tea as well, which, you know, honestly, it's a very nice little model. I'm not the biggest fan of Guard models in general. There's some that are pretty good, but Ratlings are definitely not something that I'm overly interested in. But at the end of the day, plenty of people do like Ratlings, people like Guard in general. This is a nice little unit, and yeah, in general, just a nice commemorative series model. It'll be nice to paint, if nothing else. And, you know, in a former life, I probably would have just picked this up anyway, just because it's a commemorative series. I do like those in general. But, yeah, for me, I think I'll probably be skipping on this one personally, but it does look good. I really like the sandbags, the overall design and, like, the comedy shown in it and everything is pretty fun. It's not something that interests me too much. However, if we move over to Kill Team with the brand new Brutal and Cunning box, this one does have a little bit of interest to me. So I'll start off with what we've just discussed with Ratlings. We do have a new set of Ratling models, and yeah, they're hobbits, alright. That's kind of what they are. They're all pretty good in terms of, like, the overall aesthetic. They look like Ratlings. They look like what you expect. You have a variety of them. You have snipers, you have comm specialists, you have demolition experts, which is pretty good. You even have some trip mines that you can place. Overall, it's a pretty good set of models, but yeah, I am not overly sold with it. You do get a little, I don't know what kind of dog it is. It kind of looks like a pug, but you do get a dog called a Battle Mutt, which is kind of cool. But overall, not the most interesting set of models in the world, but that is, from my perspective, I'm not the biggest Imperial Guard fan, and yeah, in general, Ratlings are just not something that interests me. But the other side of this box is something that interests me, and that is Orcs. I am not the biggest Orcs player, but I really like Orc models. I like painting them. I have my own purple Orcs. I love them. They're great. And yeah, you get a nice variety here. Once again, you get a boss knob, and then a variety of heavily armoured boys, essentially. You get the Breaker Boy Crusher, the Breaker Boy Demolisher, Tank Buster Gunner, Breaker Boy Fighter, Tank Buster Rocketeer, and, of course, you can't have a kill team for Orcs without Bomb Squigs. Or Squigs of some kind anyway, but Bomb Squigs are great. I love them. And Squigs are the main reason that I actually enjoy Orcs more than anything. I absolutely adore Squigs. So yeah, getting more variety on those is always excellent to me. But yeah, in general, like both of these kill teams are perfectly good. I'm not sold on either of them as being like something that I need to get immediately. But yeah, they are definitely good, and the orcs are always nice. I love getting new orc kits. And yeah, in general, it looks like it's going to be a good little box. We do get some terrain as well, a few walls, a few little boxes and stuff like that. Nothing too special, pretty standard stuff. But yeah, that is what we have for Brutal and Cunning. So moving on to Necromunda, we have yet more small guy news, little guy news. What's the thing from Depth is Ridiculous? But anyway, the Exokin. So we do have more dwarf news from Necromunda, and yeah, these guys look great. I like them. Obviously the dwarves in little power armor suits. Got a bit of mining gear on them. They look pretty good overall. Got some hammers. You got your little robot droid things, like your little helper robots. And in general, I think these look really good. As I always say whenever I talk about Halfkin, I just use them for my Votann. I like the models more, so that's how I use them. I use them as Votann. But yeah, these guys are great. Nice little bit of variety. I do like the armor. And there's not much to say about them. They look like the rest of the kin from Necromunda. It's not really adding much in the grand scheme of things, but yeah, more Prospector units. Can't complain about that. And yeah, we'll move on from Necromunda because there's not much to say about it. And we'll go back all the way to 30k for Warhammer, the Horus Heresy, and we'll start off with Legions Imperialis, because annoyingly, Legions Imperialis is the thing getting Dark Mechanicum. We'll get into it in a moment, but yeah, we do have a entire book for the rise of Dark Mechanicum in Legions Imperialis, and we do get these lovely Stalker models, which I'll go into a little bit more detail in a second. But yeah, really annoying that we still don't have Dark Mechanicum in regular 30k, but now we do have them in Legions Imperialis. It's just a bit annoying to me. I'm sure plenty of people, especially, would-be Dark Mechanicum players, are also going to be very annoyed about this. At the end of the day, the models are cool, the models are neat, and, it's good that they're getting acknowledged at all. I just wish they were getting acknowledged in standard scale rather than epic. And that does bring us into the Heresy Thursday, which is about the same topic, and this is where we get a bit more of a breakdown about the different Stalkers. So we have the Tenebrax Archer Battle Stalker, the Eric's Butcher Assault Stalker. We also have Harpax Swarmer Scout Hosts, and yeah, that's it for the Dark Mechanicum stuff. Obviously, they're still talking about the Mechanicum Battle Group, which you can use some of those models for Dark Mechanicum. That is an option. But yeah, I just, as good as these models look, I would much rather them not be in epic scale. And, I am someone who does quite enjoy a bit of epic. I do quite like it. I just don't think it's the place you introduce factions or reintroduce factions, because Dark Mechanicum just don't have a presence in 30k or 40k, like, basically at all. And it's really frustrating to see them then get included in Legions Imperialis, which, as far as I've been able to see, is not that popular. People like it. People like epic. People have always liked epic. But, like, by comparison to standard 30k and standard 40k, especially standard 40k, Legion Imperialis is not doing too well. And it kind of just rubs me the wrong way that they're getting Dark Mechanicum already. And I'm not even necessarily a Dark Mechanicum player. Like, I'm not someone who really cares too much if, they exist or not. But I think if they're going to exist, they should exist in regular heroic scale. And as is, they just don't. But that takes us out of the 40th and 30th millennia. Let's go all the way to Age of Sigmar, and we have the battle forces for AOS. So this one I'm going to say far less about opinions, because I don't really know much in terms of AOS in general. But we do have the Battle Force Cities of Sigmar Founding Foray, which, you know my opinion on humans in AOS. I don't care for them too much, but they exist, and I'm sure this is a perfectly good box for Cities of Sigmar. I just don't know anything about them. Moving on, though, to the Flesh Eater Courts, we have the Charnel Grand Jury. This includes a lot of the Bat models, which is pretty good in my opinion. I do quite like those. Once again, nothing too special here. I love the judge model being the main leader model. But yeah, there's nothing, once again, too interesting here. Definitely a nice variety, but nothing that I would definitely jump at the opportunity to get. But that's also my preference. I'm not the biggest fan of Flesh Eater Courts, even though some of their models I do think are quite fun. And then we do have one that I do have a little bit more interest in. Not much, especially compared to the ones that I said that I enjoyed from the 40k one. But we do have an Iron Jaws Battleforce, the Wrecker Mob, and yeah, it comes with a big pig. That's really all I want to say about it. It comes with a big pig. If that sells you, it sells you. I'm not the biggest Iron Jaws fan in the world. I do like them. I like, my destruction side in general. I do quite like that in AOS. But Iron Jaws are very low on the totem pole for destruction for me. So, yeah, it's cool. It's neat. It's good. It's a lot of boys. It's a lot of the different, standard units. And then the big pig. So, it's kind of cool, but it's not the most interesting thing in the world. And then finally, we do have the Maggotkin of Nurgle with the Shudder Blight Cyst. And this one's probably the most interesting to me, even as someone who isn't a fan of Nurgle in general. I do quite like the units that are displayed here. We do have a bunch of the flying, insect models. We have the Rotting Horse. And just generally some nice mortal Nurgle followers. So, yeah, in general, not the most, to me, not the most interesting stuff in the world, but definitely some good stuff there. And, yeah, I'm sure an AOS player would be able to, give a better opinion than this, but I'm just not, unfortunately, especially for these armies. And, yeah, they all look fine. I'd argue they're all slightly better than the 40k ones for the most part. But, yeah, none of these are that special either. And I think GW has definitely dropped the ball a little bit with Battle Forces this year. I hope that, it turns out I'm actually wrong and I'm just, blind to how good these boxes are. But, yeah, from my perspective, from my knowledge of these armies and what units are there and stuff, and just even the rule of cool, just looking at it and being like, is this a cool army to look at? I'm not sold on any of them. The closest one to being sold, as I said before, is the Tau, but that's just because I like the Tau to begin with. And yeah, when it comes to everything else, it's just a bit, I don't know. It's not the most interesting year for Battle Forces, that's for sure. But moving on, we have some Dark Gods to talk about. We have the Slaves to Darkness Battle Tome, along with a brand new Sorcerer who looks excellent. I love the two different helmet designs. Definitely preferring the skull overall, personally. But yeah, also the different vortex or skull design for the staff looks really cool. In general, just a very nice sorcerer model. Very easy to modify that into something for maybe 40k. I'd argue maybe it'd be a little bit more suitable to 30k than 40k. But yeah, I'm always trying to modify my chaos stuff from AOS over to good old 40k. But yeah, in general, very nice model. Do really like that. And we also do have a brand new box for Slaves to Darkness, the Dark Oath Raiders, and yeah, you get the Horse Riders, you get a nice variety in general of the different ground units essentially, but nothing that I think is all too great. In general, it's fine. It's a good Spearhead, and obviously if you play Spearhead, there you go, you can now play Slaves to Darkness with a new kit. Well, not a new kit, a new box, but yeah, I don't know, it's not the most interesting. At the end of the day, the Sorcerer is the most interesting to me just because it's a cool, unique model. I don't care about Slaves to Darkness, so I'm not going to care about the Spearhead. It's just how it is, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm sure Slaves to Darkness fans are going to be, happy with this box. It is a good Spearhead from what I'm seeing. As I said with the Battle Forces, the whole rule of cool thing, I look at this and I'm like, this is actually a decent looking army. I can see how this is fun for Slaves to Darkness players, but yeah, in general, not something I'm overly interested in. And that brings us to Warhammer Underworlds. We have a new edition with Emberguard. And yeah, I've made my opinion on Underworlds very clear. I like the game. It comes out too regularly for me to keep up with it. I have 3 or 4 versions, 3 or 4 editions of Underworlds, and yeah, I do like it every once in a while. It makes a nice change of pace. It's probably my favourite AOS side game, or fantasy side game, in all fairness. But yeah, this one, it comes with, of course, Stormcast, because they all come with Stormcast. But this time the actual adversary is going to be Skaven, which is very nice. I do really like the Skaven units in this. Just to quickly go over the Stormcast, we do have guys with bows and guys with knives. Well, a guy with knife. They're alright. I think they're alright in general. I like the capes, the, pelts and stuff that are on the shoulders. Look pretty nice. Overall, they're good looking models, but I just don't care as much about Stormcast, unfortunately. So, yeah, that's really all I can say about them. So, when it comes to Skaven, great variety. We finally see the Rumour Engine reveal, which is the rat with the grenade on its back. I did say I thought it could be Skaven, and it turns out it is. But yeah, we do get a Warlock. We do get I forget what the vehicle is called, but the little roller wheel thing. I don't even know what you call it. It's kind of the General Grievous wheel bike, but I can't remember what it's actually called in AOS. But yeah, you get one of those, and then you get two more standard looking. Well, I'd say standard looking, but the gas mask style of Skaven, one of which has some really gnarly looking claws. But yeah, in general, very nice models overall, and yeah, that's the gist of it. It's always good to see that Underworld is getting continued support. It's just annoying that it basically means that every, few months, it feels like, you end up having to buy a new box, and it gets very expensive to play Underworlds. I'm still playing like 4 editions ago, whatever, which it works perfectly fine for me. But yeah, there we go. That is the Underworld reveals. And that leaves us with the final spin-off for Fantasy being Blood Bowl. And we do have yet another star player, this time for Nurgle. And yeah, this guy's called Guffle Pussmore. And he is horrific. I don't... He's got maggots in his mouth. This guy is a Nurgle unit, alright. I ebb and flow with my like or dislike of Nurgle units. Like, the aesthetic is very in the air for me. I don't love it most of the time, but it is a look. But yeah, this guy looks great in all the worst ways. The massive mouth on the stomach, the tongue, the maggots, the person drool, and all that kind of stuff. It's very Nurgle. They've done an amazing job of it. The fact that one leg is way bigger than the other, there's so many little things about this guy that make him horrific, which is exactly what you need for, a Nurgle character. And yeah, in general, that's really all I can say about him. He's a Nurgle character. If you like that kind of aesthetic, there you go, a new Nurgle star player. If you don't like it, if you're like me and just think it's a bit too much, well, you don't have to get it, because I assume you're not a Nurgle player. But yeah, that is what we have for Blood Bowl. And finally, that leaves us with the Rumour Engine for the 8th of October 2024. And this time around, it's something that seems pretty familiar. It's a blade covered in teeth. This is definitely something for Chaos. I wouldn't be able to specify too much which faction of Chaos, or whether it's 40k, or whether it's 30k, or whether it's AOS, or, Old World, or anything like that. But yeah, it's definitely some sort of fleshy, teethy blade of some kind, and it looks very interesting. I would probably lean towards it being something on more of the Khorne side, or maybe even the Zeech side. But yeah, definitely something to look out for in the future. Definitely looks like it could be a cool model when we see it. But yeah, not really too much to go off there. So on that note, that is going to be it for this episode. So I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like it, subscribe if you're new, and ring that bell so you never miss upload. Otherwise, comment below thoughts and feelings about any of the topics we've talked about today. Are you interested in the battle forces? I've made it pretty clear that I think they're all kind of meh, but you might really like one. You might think one is the perfect thing to add to your army, or the perfect starting point for a new army. I don't know. But yeah, in any case, let me know all that stuff in the comments below. Check the description for all links to the articles discussed in this video. And yeah, otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye!
Look at the screen, you'll be fine. Culture's a disease, but we'll survive. I just wanna take